Hi everyone, welcome back to the AIML series, and we are still with the Python fundamentals. So let's start with Python range. So the range function is Python is used to generate a sequence of numbers. Okay, it is commonly used in loops, but can be converted into list if needed. For example, I need to generate a list of 100 numbers. Okay, so instead of doing something like a equals to 1 2 3 4 something like that, I can directly do a equals to range, or I want to generate, let's say, 1 to 1 to 100. So what it will do, for example, let's print this a, you will notice something as well. So if I does this, okay, is okay, sorry, yeah. So if I do, so I'll see a range. Now how to print this? So there are multiple ways to do it, but normally we use list to display it. Okay, I can do something like this list, and you remember how we do it. So you're right, we'll have something like this. Okay, if you remember, so what we have done is here is called typecasting. Yeah, we have discussed it multiple times, and I hope this concept retained. Okay, now if you notice one thing, so I have defined something like this, and I want the range of numbers should be from 1 to 100. If you see this list, it starts with 1, which is good, and then it goes up to only 99. And why is that? Is because it this if I mention this, so it will count the values from 1 to 100 minus 1, which is 99. So if I want a list of numbers from 1 to 100, I need to mention 101. So the moment I mention that, I'll have something like 1 to 100. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, next, call range with one argument. So if you see here, I wanted a list from 1 to 100, and that's why I mentioned the first one, this last one. Now if if somebody says get me a list of 100 numbers, for example, so I can simply say, let's say somebody says to get me a list of 10 numbers. Okay, I can, this is typecasting, and this is my range variable. So range method. Okay, range, and how many numbers I need is 10. So let's say if I run it, so you see what it will give me. It's from 0 to 9. So the if I am not mentioning the first parameter, so how, let's see how this works. So there are three ways I can define the range function. First is range stop. So what I have done here, I have said that I need 10 numbers, and I have mentioned 10. So here I have mentioned a stop, that is I need 10 numbers. 10 is the last count. Okay, now because I did not mention from where to start, it started by 0 by default. So if I counted 0 1 2 3, so these are the count of the number is 10, which is true, right? But if I say I want number from 1 to 10, so in that case I need to specifically pass both the starting point and the ending point, which should be -1, right? So if I do this, I'll get 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 10. Okay, now I can do one more thing. What I need is, in this range from 1 to 10, I only want to print the even numbers. Okay, sorry, odd numbers. Okay, so what I can do, start, stop, and the third one is step. So what it will do, it will give me the even numbers. Okay, now if I say I want to print the odd numbers for it, sorry, even numbers, so what I'll do, I'll start with 0 and I'll go something like this, right? Or somebody says that I want to print every third letter from 1 to 100, for example. 1 to 100 would be something like this, and I want to print every third digit, for example. So if you see, the first is 1 plus 3 4 plus 3 7. So that is how we can define the step. Okay. This, I think, using list to display ranges, we already discussed how we can do it. We can simply typecast, because if I just print this, I think we have already seen it. Let's try again. If I only do this, it will create a range object. Okay, but I need to make it as iterative, right? I need the data as well, so I'll typecast it into a list type. Okay, this is how I can do. Now if you remember, we did the string slices. We have learned about slicing the string. Similarly, we can slice a range as well. For example, I have created a range, let's say range from 1 to 100 with a step count of 2. Okay, so let's quickly print it. Let's keep it as 51. Okay, 1 to 5, so that it is easy for us to see. 1 to 51, 1 to 50 with a step count of 2, so it will print the odd numbers. Okay, let's quickly check it, verify it. See, it will print the odd numbers from 1 to 50, right? Now I want to, let's say I want to print the seventh item. Okay, so what I can do, seventh item means the index should be um, index should be 6, right? So 6 should give, so if I want seventh item, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, so I need to pass the index as 6, right? So it should give me 13. Yeah, makes sense. Now if I say I want to print anything after let's say 10 to 20, so here it will give me a list of this range. Okay, see, that's how the indexing works. It's similar to string. Okay, almost similar, same. Okay, next is I want to check whether a particular item exists in the range as well or not. So for example, I have created this range. I want to check whether 10 exists in this range or not. The output of this range is this, right? So does 10 exist here? The output should be false. Let's try it. Yeah, now let's check if 11 exists or not. So 11 is an odd number because we are creating a range with odd numbers, right? So it should return true. Quickly verify it and make sense, right? Now we need to check the length. Okay, similar how we do length function with string, we can here also do length of range 1. Okay, so it should give me 25, right? Because 1 to 50 count is 50 and half would be odd and half would be even, so it should give me 25, right? Yeah, makes sense. Okay, This is how we can do range. Okay, so if somebody says that create a list of numbers from 1 to 100, I don't need to manually create it. I can just call this range method and it will create it for me, right? That's how you can do. Okay, next we'll talk about data collections. Okay, so in Python we have, like, till now we have learned about the data types, right? Which is number, boolean and strings, right? Now if you have noticed that in these I have storing a single digit, right? If I'm defining a variable a equals to 5, I'm only storing 5 to this variable a, right? And if I'm doing string 1 equals to, let's quickly see this. For example, if I'm doing a is equal to 5, right? A is equal to 5, and if I'm doing string 1 equals to hello, or if I'm doing num equals to 1.5, so I am storing a single value. Either it could be int, it could be string, or it could be float. But what if I want to store a collection of values? For example, I want to store these three in a single variable. So how I can do that? So for that we have data collections. If you remember, we quickly, like, we just passed through these when we just started the sessions, when we read about the data types. We quickly went through it, list, tuple, directory, right? So now we'll go through these in detail. Okay, yeah, so to store a collection of data, we have some data collections in Python. Okay, so what are these data collections? So we have four data collections, four standard data collections. So we have list, we have tuple, we have sets, we have dictionary. Okay, okay, so if you have, like, if you have gone through any other language, programming languages, so you have heard about a term called array, right? So what array is we use array is a data type which we use to store a homogeneous kind of data values, right? All the values in a array should be of same type, right? Whether we can have something like this or we can have something like this, right? Yeah, something like this or something like this, 2.3 comma 4.5. If we are doing something like this, it was a big no, है ना? But in Python, the creators thought that why to do that, right? We can have a collections which can store every kind of data. So in Python, the data collections are heterogeneous. Okay, you can have a same data collection. For example, list, it can contain a string, it can contain a value, and it can contain a float as well, right? And it is equally valid. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go through these one by one, and let's start with list. This is a brief introduction. We'll go with each and everything in detail later. Okay, so what are lists? A list in Python is an ordered, changeable collection of items. Okay, ordered, basically we can do indexing on list. So if I pass a list of, I have created a list of items is 1 2 3 4, then I know that 1 is stored at 0 index, 2 is stored at first index, and so on, right? Changeable, mutable is something that we can change it. Now if I want to instead of storing it as 1 2 3 4, I want to store it as 4 3 2 1. So I can change the values. Okay, List can store different data types such as integers, strings, float. We already discussed that. Yeah. Okay. List. So we can create list, access list, modify them, slice them similar to strings. Yeah. Loop through the list, and there are some functions and methods as well. We'll go through them in detail. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so let's start. So this is a simple list. We'll stick to it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is how we can define a list. Now if I want to just print it, it will show me. Yeah. Now we are saying that the list is ordered. Okay, so no matter how many time I print it, it will print me the same exact list. Okay, and if I want to check the item of it, let's say on the 0th index, it will give me apple because it is on the 0, and no matter how many time I run it, it will give me same. Okay, that's what I mean when I say ordered. Second is changeable. For example, I want to change the value of the first item. Okay, so I can do something like this. Don't worry, we'll discuss it later, but let's try to understand it. Okay, so let's say I want to replace apple with grapes. Okay, this is how we can modify it. Now if I run it, so it has updated the value. So basically the lists are mutable, I can change it. The next thing it says that it allows duplicates. For example, if you see currently it does not have any duplicates, but for example let's say I modify this to mention something like, and I repeat this element again. If I say this, and now if I print it, yeah, it will print the apple twice. That means we can add duplicates as well, right? Okay, yeah, so let's keep. Okay, next is list length. Similarly, how we were doing how we are finding the length of a string, similarly we can do that here. We have this method which is called a length, and I can call it on our list. If I do this, so right now I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 items in a list. So a list started with this square brackets, and every single specifics is a item, okay, or a value, and they are separated by a column. Okay, this is what constitute a list. Okay, these are important. Okay, now if I want to check the length, so simple, I have this length function, and I'll just call it. Okay, yeah. Now list constructor. If you remember when uh, you remember the typecasting, right? How we were doing, if I want to, we have like string, or we have int, or we have float, right? Similarly for strings we have a list constructor. Suppose I have some, I want to create a list. So how I can do this? For example, list1, and I want to call this constructor, and this is how I define something like, let's say a comma b comma c, and if I run it, if I say list1, so you will see, so this will be changed to something starts with the square brackets. Let's quickly verify it, right? So this is a list. Now how I can check whether what's the type of the list? So it will also remain the same. How we can check the type of the list? is simple, is the same how we have been doing, is using the type function. Okay, when I say function and method, both are same. Okay, don't get confused if you think that somewhere I'm calling this type as a method or somewhere I'm calling it a function. Okay, both are same. Let's check for both. I've created two lists, right? One is list 1 and second is list 2. So yeah, you see the class type is list. Okay, we have already discussed Python collections. I told you that we have 4 type of Python collections: list, set, tuples and dictionary. Don't worry, we'll go we'll understand all of these. Okay, now, so till now how many data types we have? We know. So we know int, we know string, we know something like float, and we know boolean. How can I forget that? And we know something called list, right? Let's quickly see the example of each one. It should give me the int, right? Second, let's have a float. Let's say hello. Sorry, let's have a string. Next, let's have a float and a boolean and a list. So if I check the type of each and every one of them, so I should get something like this. Make sense? So these are the different data types we have gone through till now. Okay, yeah. Next is how to access the items. So now we have learned how we can define it. For example, let's copy paste this list. How we can access it, we have already discussed it. How we can do it is we can call it using something like this. So like in strings, here also each item is indexed. So for example, how indexing works here is, currently I have length is how many? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, so length is 8, so total index we have is 0 to 7. Make sense? Index should be 0, kiwi should be 1, banana should be 2, orange should be 3, tomato should be 4, pear should be 5, mango should be 6. Let's for now remove this apple because it is a duplicate and you might get confused. And so we have 7 elements. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So this is how the indexing will work. So now how we can access the item? So we can first print the entire list, right? So but how we can access the individual items, these values? So items and values are same, don't get confused by the terms being used. Okay, so if I want to print the first item, for example, so I can call the zeroth indexing, similar to strings. Okay, if I do this, it will print the first item. Similarly, if I do okay, so I'll have apple, kiwi, banana, orange, tomato, pear and mango. Okay, this is how we can access the item. Okay, second is about negative index. So if you remember, we discussed about the negative indexing, right? So how it works, it works from the last item. So if it should be -1, for this it should be -2, it should be -3, it should be -6, it should be -7. Okay, now if I print something like this, fruits. Okay, let's try one more thing before we move on to negative indexing. So here if I do something like this, fruits 7, so what should I get? I should get a index error, because indexing is from 0 to 6, right? I know you guys already know this, because we had similar thing with string. So we are seeing how consistent things are between different data types. Okay, yeah, coming back for negative indexing. So if I want to print the last item, so I should be mentioning -1. Yeah, it will give me the last item. Okay, now if I want to do the from end to bottom, how I can do it is similar. -2 will give me the last second, -3 will give me the last third, and so on. Okay, -5, -6, and -7. Okay, yeah, just the opposite of it, right? So like in strings, then indexing start from 0 and the negative indexing start from 1. Okay, so it will go from -1 to length of the uh, list. Okay, now let's try one more thing here. So for example, I do something like fruits -8. Let's see what we'll get. We'll get a index error. Okay, consistent with strings. Okay, now similar how we were doing on strings, here also we can check the range of indexes. Okay, so for example, I want to a range of indexes, or let's call it slicing, that would be a better term. Okay, so if I just want the second and the third item, how I can do that? I can do that fruits, second item is the 0th index, right? And third is 1. So let's do this first. So if I am doing 0 and 1, so if you see, sorry, 0 colon, right? It is only printing me apple, but I want second and third, right? So second and third should be 1, 2. Is it still printing only the second? I need second and the third. So if you see here, I need to mention third, because how the slicing work, it will give me from start to end -1, right? So if I want second and third item, I need to mention the index like 1, 2, 3. So here it will print me kiwi and banana. Okay, right? Similarly, if I want to print everything after second element, for example, so I'll do something like this. So it will print me everything after second, or if I everything after first, or if I want to do everything after second, so by excluding second, it will print with the rest, right? Remember, we have done this. Or if I want to just print the first 5, so I can do something like this, right? It will print me the first 5. Yeah, similar for negative index, how we did with strings. The similar way it works here as well. For example, if I do something like print fruits -4 colon -1, so what it should print is the last 4 items, right? Last 3 items, right? So we'll have orange, tomato, pear, right? Since it will not exclude, so if I mention, if I exclude it, so for example if I say something like this, so it will print me the last 4 items, sorry, colon, so it will print me the last 4 items. Yeah, because -1, -2, -3, -4, it will start from here and it will print all the rest. Okay, now check if an item exists or not. You remember when we talked about the operators, we talked about the in operator, right? In membership operator. So similar we can check here. So I want to see whether apple exists in fruits, so it is, right? So I should get true. And if I want to check grapes, it's not there, so I will get false. Let's quickly verify it. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, next we have is how to change the item value. I think we'll discuss this earlier as well, but let's try it again. So this is, let's keep the same list. How we can change the value. So for example, I want to update this apple to grapes, so I can do something like this, right? Yeah, it will update from apple to grapes. Now I want to change a range. For example, what I want to do, I want to change this kiwi to kiwi 1 and this banana to banana 1. So I can do something like this. Okay, now if I run it, I'll have something like this. Okay, this is how it works. So yeah, okay, next is how, so this what we have updated the existing values. Now how we can add items. So we have different methods for it. First one is the insert method. So suppose I want to add apples at the first position, for example. So what I'll do, I'll fruits dot insert where I want to insert it at the 0th index. Okay, and what I want to insert is apples. So if I run it, it will show me something like apples, grapes, kiwi, banana, orange, tomato, pear, mango, right? Makes sense? This is how you can do insert. Append is something if you want to add to the end. So if I do something like this, if I do fruits dot append, I mention the value. So if I run it, it will add this mango 1 to the very end. Okay, next we have is extend. For example, I have another list which is something like fruits 2 and it contain blueberry and let's say it contain cherry. Okay, now I want to add this to this. So let's first try with insert. Let's check whether it works or not. Dot insert where I want to end it at the last. So I can do something like length of fruits -1 and what I want to add is fruits 2. Let's see if it works or not. Okay, you see when I did, what it has done, it has added this, right? Okay, something, it has done this, but we don't want it, right? We want to add these two. Okay, so insert did not work, right? It was incorrect. Now let's try with append. So let's do something like fruits dot append. So sorry, so for append we only need one, right? So we'll remove this and we'll do append. And similar to insert, it also appended the list instead of the items, right? So this also did not work. So if you remember, we have had something. We can also, if you remember in strings how we can concat it, so let's try something that as well. So let's say fruits equals to fruits plus fruits 2, right? So let's see if it works or not. If you see, this works. So this is the one way you can do it. There's one more, which is this extend method. Okay, let's say I have this and I want to have another list this, and so let's first try with this. Just quickly verify whether the list got updated above. So it has this. Now let's try the same thing with extend. Okay, using concat, which is plus, and using extend. So I can do something like fruits dot extend, and I can do fruits too. Yeah, now if I print fruits, both should be same. Yeah. Okay, if you have noticed one thing, right now we have none. The reason, because this is a list, but if I change it to, for example, to something like this, and if I run it, it will, okay, I think I missed something. Okay, the next method is we can do using extend. So for example, I have this and I do something like this. Now I'll call fruits dot extend with fruits too, and I'll simply print, right, fruits. And if I run it, I'll have something like this. Okay, sorry, I have did stew. I should do it with stew, right? I'll get same. So if even if you do it with plus, which is concat, or you do it with extend, both would be same, right? So this is how we can add items to our, or add values to our list. Okay, similar to adding, we can also remove it. So how we can remove it is, first we have a remove method. So for example, let's take this one only. So if I have a fruits, let's quickly print it. Okay, looks good. Now, so for example, I want to remove an item. Let's say I want to remove orange from it. So I'll use fruits dot remove method, and let's say remove banana. Okay, now if I print it, so it will remove the banana, right? This is how we can remove banana, remove an item from a list. For example, now I want to remove, let's say, multiple items, so I can do something like let's say I want to remove orange. I can also add multiple items here, and I want to remove pear, for example. So I can do something like this. If I run it, it will, okay, if I want to remove more than one item, it will, I need to pass only one. Okay, I cannot do that. Now for example, let's say, okay, this is, for example, there are multiple let's say there are duplicates in this list. Okay, yeah. Now if I do, for example, let's print it quickly, and for example, if I do something like apple, so what would it do? So there are currently two apple values. So what will happen? Will it remove both, or will it remove only first? So what it will do, it will remove the only first occurrence of this value. Okay, so if you need to remove apple again, so you need to call this method again. It will remove only first uh, occurrence. Okay, something to remember in case of duplicates, it will only remove one and first occurrence. Okay, second method is to remove an item is mentioning the specific index. Okay, so how we can do it? For example, currently we have this, right? I want to remove the item at second location. Suppose I want to remove banana, so I can mention its index. So index would be 0 1. So if I mention fruits dot pop, and if I say 1, and if I, let's say, print fruit, so what it will do, it will remove the item at the first index. Okay, let's quickly do this. Yeah, now if I only call the fruits dot pop method, so what it will do, so this will remove the item from the last item. Okay, so earlier what this pop used to do, it will use to pop any random item. Okay, now if I want to clear, now if I, so there is another way how you can delete, remove a specified index value. This is called delete, del. So for example, if I mention del fruit 0, so it will remove kiwi. Let's quickly verify it. Yeah, this is how you can do it. Now if I want to empty the list, so we have another method function which is called dot clear. Now if I run it, it will, if I want to delete the list entirely, so how we can do it? And if I try to print it, let's see what happens. It will throw me an error, because after we perform this del on this data type, this fruit does not exist anymore. Okay, makes sense? This is how you can perform the deletion operation on list. So till now we have learned how we can define a list, how we can access it, how we can add values to it, and how we can remove something on it. Okay, next is we'll learn about how we can iterate through the items in a list. Okay, so for that we use loops. So I know we haven't gone through loops till now, but let's quickly understand them here and just try to understand the concept here. Okay, now for example, there is a list. Let's take this list, mention it as 4. Let's mention this, let's create this list and quickly print it. Now if we want to uh, loop through this list, how we can do it? So for example, we can use for loop. So for fruit, it's an item in this list and we are just printing the fruit. So let's see what happens. So it will print me something like that. Now if I want to print only the fruit except apple. Okay, so let's not do that because we haven't learned about the if else loops, if else, but yeah, so let's just keep it from here. So this is how you can print or loop through an okay, now you remember we have learned something about range, right? So let's use that. So for example, we have something like for fruit in range of what? Length of this. Okay, and I want to print fruit, each fruit. Okay, so I can work something like this. So now if I, let's see what is it. If I quickly do print of this, it will give me a range which is from 0 to 7, 0 to 6, which is 0 1 2 3, and here we are printing the item using the indexing. Okay, so this is how we can use loops to go through a list. Okay, next is we have list comprehensions. So instead of using this like for fruit this something, we can do this thing in a single line. Okay, so how we can do it is we can have something like a new list equals to x. Yeah, okay, so don't worry, we'll check it. Okay, if okay, something like that. So what will happen? So we are adding every x if that x exists in fruits. No, sorry, what we are doing, we are looping through for x in x, then we are checking if that element has apple in it, and if it is, then we are adding it to the list. Okay, something like this. So but let's say if that element contain I, for example. So how many of these contain I? Only kiwi. So if I run it, so I'll have only I. Let's change this I to A. So if I run it, it will return everything except I think kiwi, because kiwi does not have an A in it. So this is how we can create new list from an existing list using list comprehensions. So this is the expression how we use it. New list expression, what I want to add, item, the iteratable, which is the list, fruits list, and if you have any condition. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's I want to create a list of odd numbers. For example, odd numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, how I can do it using list comprehension? So I have created a new list, or let's call it old list, and what I have done is I have looped through for x in range 1 to 11, because it will go from 1 to 10, right? 11 minus 1 is 10. Now if this x is divisible by 2, is not divisible by 2, which means the modulus should be 1, right? So x modulus 2 equals to 1, then add it to the list. Okay, so basically it will add the something like this. So now if I run it, yeah, this is how the list comprehensions work. So now if I want a even number list, for example, even numbers from 1 to 10, similarly how I can do it, even list equals to same, just instead of 1 it will be 0, right? And I can quickly run it. So 2 4 6 8 10. Okay, this is how we can use list comprehensions. Okay, now next is about sorting the list, how you can sort the list. For example, I have a list which is this, and I want to sort it. Let's see how I can sort it. So we have a sort method. What it does, if I do something like fruits dot sort, and if I run it, so what it will do, it will sort this list alphanumerically. Okay, so apple, banana, orange, tomato. Let's add something like banana. Let's add something like apricot. Okay, so now you will see apricot. If you like, let's see 4 and 2, so they both start with 2. The second letter is P, but with the third P and R is greater, so we should have apple, apricot. First we should have apple. Yeah, makes sense. This is how the sorting works. Okay, now what if I want to sort them in a descending order? Okay, so how we can do it is, you can simply use a reverse keyword. If reverse is true, it will sort it in descending. If reverse is false, it will sort it in alphanumerically. So by default this sort, by default it is false. You see here, equals to false, so by default it is false, and false means it should sort in alphabetically. Now if I run it, it will just reverse it. Okay, now what if I want to create my own sort function? So right now I'm using the sort function, which can only sort it in alphabetically or alphanumerically, or in the increasing order or in the decreasing order, right? So what if I want to create my own sorting function? So how I can do it? So for example, I have something like let's say I have a list which is 10 20 30 50. Okay, or I'll have something like, let's say, yeah, let's keep it something like that. And I want to sort it in a way where, okay, let's create, so we haven't learned about the function, so let's keep it till the end. Okay, to be discussed later, because we are going to create some functions. to be discussed later with functions. Okay, I'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Okay, don't worry. Okay, next is case insensitive sort. So for example, I have something like let's take this. If K is capital, T is capital, so let's see how it works. Okay, see something. So it is case insensitive. So the items with capital letters will get sorted first, and then with the small letters. See, yeah. Okay. We have one more function is just called reverse. So for example, you have a list something like this. Now you want to reverse it. You just want to reverse it. If I printed it will print me something like this, right? But if I want to just reverse it, so there are two ways you can do it. We have learned about it. So if I do something like sorry, if I okay, let's stick to the reverse function. So okay, so next is reverse. Okay, so next is reverse. So how, so for example, I have this list. Okay, now if I print it, I'll have something like this. Now I want to reverse it. So right now the first letter is apple, but I want this list to be apricot, mango, pear, tomato, orange, banana, kiwi, apple. I want to reverse it. So how I can do it is fruits dot reverse, and if I'll just call it, I'll just print it, and I'll have something like this basically, right? So this is how I can sort it, I can reverse it. Okay, next we have copying list. So if you remember, we talked about something called is and difference between is and equals to, right? If you remember, so something we are going to see again. So for example, I have a list called this list called, let's say the same list. Okay, if I have a list called this, and if I create another list, fruits 2 is equal to, now sorry, fruits, yeah, makes sense. Now if I add something to fruit 2, or if I make any change to fruit 2, let's say if I replace apple with grapes, and if I run both, so what will happen, the change which I have made to fruits 2, it will get reflected in fruit 1, right? Because in memory they are mapped to the same object, right? Now how I can copy it, like how I can create a copy which is different. Like if I make changes to fruit 2, it should not reflect in fruits. Okay, so we have a copy method. Okay, now yeah, so let's take it again, let's print it, and I'll create something like new list equals to fruits dot copy. Okay, so let's quickly print it. You see something, Now I made changes to the new list which is not reflected in the first one, so I can use the copy method. Okay, this is how I can do it. There's one more method you can do, like create a copy. For example, you have a list, this fruits. If you want to create a new list 1, you can just pass it to the list constructor. Yeah, sorry, you can just pass it to the list constructor. Let's keep the name to fruits. Now if you make this change, let's try it. Let's see if something changes now or not. See, let's quickly verify it. Yeah, this is the second method you can do it. Third is you can do it using slice operator. For example, you have a list, like let's take the same list. You create a new list, let's call it list 2, and you just simply do something like this. Okay, fruits, something this. If you remember, we give the start and the stop, so since we did not give a start and the stop, it will take all the elements. Okay, now if I run it, yeah, so there are 3 ways you can copy a list. Okay, yeah, okay, I hope it is clear and it's not too complicated. Okay, next we have is joining, like how we can combine 2 lists. Yeah, basically how we can concatenate 2 lists. Okay, first, if you remember, we have learned something about extend. Similar here. So for example, I have a list fruits 1 equals to apples, orange, and I have a list fruits underscore 2, which is kiwi is equal to banana. Okay, so first I can do something. Let's print all. Okay, we have learned plus how we can do it. Join works. Second, let's try with append if it works or not. Fruit underscore 4 dot append. Yeah, so no, fruit is going to fall something. Let's try with, sorry, okay, 1 dot append fruit 2. Let's quickly verify it whether it works or not. See, when I am doing this, it is not working, but we remember using the loops, right? So I can do something like, if I do something like, let's reset them. If I do something like for fruit in fruit 2, and if I add every item to the end of it, right? Apple, kiwi, it's already there in fruit 1. I'll loop through the each element of fruit 2, and first I'll add kiwi to this, and then I'll add orange to this. So if I run it, so we'll have something like this, right? The third method we have already discussed about extend, and it works very well. I could do something like fruits 1 dot extend fruits underscore 2 and I'll just simply print it. Okay, so these are the three methods how we can join two lists. So these are just the two lists. If there are more, this is the same method you can apply. Okay, next we have some list methods. I think we have gone through almost every of them, but let's just quickly do it. Let's say I have a fruits list. Yeah, quickly print it. Okay, first is append. We already know how append works. Is print fruits. If I want to, let's say, add apple to it. Okay, dot append apple. So what it will do, it will add apple as the last element. Okay, so you see none is because I need to, it's a standalone operation. So if I run fruit, it will work, right? Next is if I want to clear the list, so something like this. Okay, it will empty the list. So let's reinstate it. Next is how we can create a copy. Let's say fruits 2 to dot copy, and if I make any changes to fruits 2 or 0, the element equals to blueberry, and if I print both fruits and fruits 2, they should be different, right? Next is count. Count is something, if you want to count the value of each element. So how I can do it is print fruits dot count. So what it will do, it will count the value of each element. Okay, I need to pass the count the value of the specified. So I want to count how many times kiwi is specified. So I'll have something like this. So it is 1. For example, let's add kiwi here and here again. So if I run it, it will show me 3. Okay. Next is extend. We have already discussed it. How it works is if I have 2 or more list, I can use extend, right? Next is index. Similar how index works with string. If I have, suppose I have this, I want to print the fruits dot index of, let's say, kiwi. So it will give me 1. So you see there are in multiply there are 3 kiwis, but it is only giving me 1. So it will return the first index. So let's see if something like r index exists as string or not. Okay, yeah, it exists. So what it will do, it will give me the last index. So it should give me, so yeah, if you see, so there is no such method here. Okay, so this method exists in strings, but it's not there in list. Okay, next I have insert. We already discussed that how insert works is, suppose you want to add fruits dot insert. If let's say you want to add apples as the first element, so this is how you can do it. Okay, next is pop. If you want to remove, let's say you want to remove the first element, you can do something like this. So it will remove apple out of the list. Now if you do it again without the index, it will remove the last element. So here it will remove kiwi. Okay, next is remove. So if you want to remove a specific value, for example, I want to remove banana from it. But let's remove kiwi. So what will happen? It will remove the first occurrence of kiwi because there are two occurrences. So if you see, so now if you want to remove it again, you need to call it again. Okay. So it will remove both the occurrences of it. Reverse, if you want to reverse the list. So fruits dot reverse. Now what it will have, it will just reverse the list. Okay. Next, if I want to sort the list, fruits dot sort. So it will sort it alphanumerically, and if I want to sort it in descending order, I could just say fruits dot sort reverse equals to true, right? If I do that, I'll get the opposite list. So let's quickly verify it, and it works, right? Yeah. So this is how you can create list. This is how you can, like, we have gone through every little operation with list. This is how you can create a list. This is how you can access it and add items, modify it, remove items or entire list altogether. You can loop through. We have learned about list comprehensions, we have learned about listing, and we have learned about how we can do copy, and we have learned about join, and then we have learned about some list methods as well. Okay, I think we can stop here, and I'll see you in the next session.